When you send a good morning message, the real question is not whether he replies quickly or starts a conversation. The real question is what emotion you leave behind once he reads it. Because emotions linger long after words disappear. Conversations end, feelings echo, and it is the echo that keeps someone thinking about you hours later when they are busy living their life. Many people treat good morning texts like a test of interest, a test of priority, a test of effort. That mindset instantly drains the message of its power. The moment your message is designed to check his temperature, it becomes heavy. And heaviness never creates desire. It creates responsibility. A powerful good morning message is not asking for anything. It is offering something. It is offering warmth, ease, and a moment of emotional connection that does not require effort in return. When a man opens his phone and feels lighter instead of pressured, his mind associates that relief with you. And relief is magnetic. Think about the messages that stay with you throughout the day. They are rarely the ones filled with questions. They are the ones that make you smile quietly. The ones that make you feel understood. The ones that remind you of who you are when you are at your best. That is the emotional space you want to create. Emotion does not come from volume. It comes from precision. One calm, thoughtful line can do more than 10 messages sent out of anxiety. When your message is grounded, it signals confidence. Confidence tells him you are not waiting by the phone, measuring your worth by his response. That independence is deeply attractive. When you aim to start a conversation, you unconsciously place the burden on him to perform. He has to respond correctly. He has to continue the exchange. He has to match your energy. That pressure may be subtle, but it is felt. And when pressure is felt, people pull away instinctively. When you aim to create emotion, there is no burden. There is no expectation. He can receive the message, enjoy it, and carry it with him. That freedom allows his feelings to grow naturally. He chooses to think about you, not because he has to respond, but because he wants to revisit the feeling. Emotion is what turns memory into attachment. If your message creates a calm smile in the morning, that smile becomes associated with you. Later in the day, when he encounters stress, his mind may drift back to that feeling. Not consciously at first, just a subtle sense of warmth. That is how you stay present without being present. This is why the most effective messages often end without a question mark. Questions demand answers. Statements create atmosphere. Atmosphere is where attraction lives. When you send a message that stands on its own, you communicate self-sufficiency. You show that your message was a gift, not a request. It also teaches him how to show up with you. When you do not rush him into dialogue, he learns that connection with you feels safe. There is no urgency, no fear of disappointing you, no emotional trap. Safety allows people to open up at their own pace. Many people fear that if they do not push conversation, they will be forgotten. The opposite is true. People remember how you made them feel, not how often you spoke. Silence with warmth is far more powerful than constant noise with insecurity. A message that creates emotion also reflects emotional intelligence. It shows that you understand timing. Morning is a vulnerable moment. People are just waking up. Their defenses are down. A gentle, confident message at that time lands deeper than a long exchange later in the day. This is not about manipulation. It is about respect. Respect for his space, respect for your own value, respect for the natural rhythm of connection. When you stop trying to extract attention and start offering presence, the dynamic shifts. If he responds, let it be because he wants to stay in the feeling. If he does not respond immediately, let the emotion still do its work. Your power is not in controlling the outcome. Your power is in setting the emotional tone. When you master this, you stop overthinking. You stop counting minutes. You stop attaching your self-worth to responses. And paradoxically, that is when attraction deepens. Because confidence is quiet, and quiet confidence is unforgettable. A good morning message that creates emotion rather than conversation does one powerful thing. It leaves him wanting to return to you emotionally, not because he was pulled, but because he was gently drawn. And what draws someone in freely is what stays with them the longest. When you make a man feel seen in a quiet, genuine way, something shifts inside him. Not because you praised him loudly, not because you demanded attention, but because you touched a part of him that rarely gets acknowledged. Most people see what a man does. Very few see who he is beneath the effort, beneath the strength, beneath the role he feels pressured to play. When your words recognize that deeper layer, you create an emotional imprint that lasts far beyond the moment. A powerful good morning message does not revolve around you needing reassurance or closeness. It revolves around him feeling understood without being interrogated. Men are constantly evaluated. At work, in society, even in relationships, they are measured by productivity, performance, and consistency. What they crave, often without realizing it, is a space where they are appreciated without being tested. When your message reflects something specific about him, his values, his effort, his character, it tells him you are paying attention. Not in a monitoring way, but in a present way. Presence is rare. Presence is intimacy. And intimacy creates attachment faster than constant communication ever could. Specificity matters because it feels real. Generic compliments fade quickly. Anyone can say you are amazing or I like you. But when you reflect something that only someone attentive would notice, his mind pauses. He feels recognized as an individual, not just as a romantic interest. That recognition creates emotional safety. Emotional safety is what allows a man to open up over time. Not pressure, not urgency, safety. When he senses that being with you does not require him to perform or prove himself, his guard lowers naturally. And when a guard lowers, connection deepens without force. Many people believe attraction grows from excitement alone. Excitement may spark interest, but depth comes from feeling valued for who you are, not what you provide. When your words acknowledge his effort, his consistency, or his quiet strength, you validate parts of him that often go unseen. That validation stays with him throughout the day. This is why timing matters. Morning messages land before the noise of the world takes over, before responsibilities pile up, before expectations kick in. A message that makes him feel appreciated at that moment becomes part of his emotional foundation for the day. He carries it with him, consciously or unconsciously. Appreciation does not mean flattery. Flattery feels hollow because it seeks a reaction. Appreciation feels grounded because it exists without needing a response. When your message stands confidently on its own, it communicates emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is deeply attractive because it signals stability. There is also strength in restraint. You do not need to say everything. One thoughtful line can be more powerful than a paragraph. It allows him space to reflect rather than react. Reflection is where feelings grow. Reaction is where conversations end. When you make a man feel seen, you also shift the dynamic from pursuit to connection. You are no longer chasing attention. You are building emotional resonance. Resonance creates curiosity. Curiosity leads him to think about you, not because he feels obligated, but because he wants to re-experience that feeling of being understood. This approach also protects your own emotional energy. When you stop using messages to seek validation, you stop giving your power away. You become rooted in self-respect rather than outcome dependency. That inner grounding is felt even through simple words on a screen. Men often struggle to articulate emotions because they are taught to minimize them. When your message gently acknowledges his inner world without demanding expression, you give him permission to feel without pressure to explain. That permission is rare, and rare experiences are remembered. As the day unfolds, moments of stress or fatigue may arise. In those moments, the emotional memory of your message can resurface, not as words, but as a feeling of calm and reassurance. That feeling becomes associated with you. Association is the foundation of emotional bonding. Over time, this consistency of feeling seen builds trust. Trust leads to openness. Openness leads to deeper communication. But it all begins with one simple truth. People open up where they feel safe, not where they feel evaluated. When your presence communicates, I see you, without asking for anything in return, you become a place of emotional rest in his life. And what brings rest is what people return to again and again, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. When you give a man space to feel desired without feeling chased, something powerful happens inside him. Desire grows best where there is freedom, not pressure. Many people confuse consistency with constant presence, but true emotional attraction is not built by being everywhere in his day. It is built by appearing in his mind when you are not there. That is the quiet magic of a message that invites thought instead of demanding attention. A powerful good morning message does not ask, "Do you miss me?" or "Why didn't you reply?" It does not carry anxiety, expectation, or emotional weight that he has to carry before his day even begins. Instead, it offers warmth without obligation. That balance creates intrigue. Intrigue keeps you on his mind far longer than reassurance ever could. Men are naturally drawn to what feels light but meaningful. When your message communicates affection without urgency, it tells him that being connected to you feels easy. Ease is deeply attractive because life already feels heavy. When someone becomes a source of calm instead of pressure, the mind naturally gravitates toward them. Space does not mean distance. Space means trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the connection, and trust that you do not need to control the outcome. When you allow space, you allow his feelings to move toward you on their own. Feelings that arrive on their own are stronger than feelings that are pushed. A message that sparks imagination rather than conversation lingers. When you leave something slightly open-ended, something reflective, his mind fills in the rest. The mind always engages more deeply when it participates. Participation creates ownership, and ownership strengthens emotional attachment. This is why subtlety matters. When you say less, you often communicate more. You are not trying to secure a response. You are offering a moment. That moment becomes his to interpret, to feel, and to carry forward. People remember how they feel far longer than what they say. When a man feels that you are emotionally full on your own, that you are not waiting on his replies to feel okay, he experiences you differently. You are no longer a task to manage. You become a presence to appreciate. Independence is not emotional distance. It is emotional stability. Stability creates trust. There is also dignity in not over-explaining yourself. Over-explanation often comes from fear of being misunderstood or ignored. When you trust your words to stand on their own, you signal confidence. Confidence does not shout, it settles. And what settles feels safe. Men are often most drawn to women who allow them to come closer at their own pace. Not because they want control, but because emotional closeness feels vulnerable. When you do not rush that vulnerability, you respect his emotional rhythm. Respect deepens attraction far more than intensity. A thoughtful message that does not require immediate engagement allows him to lean in when he is ready. When he chooses to respond rather than feeling compelled to, his response carries more emotional weight. Choice always strengthens connection. This approach also protects you from emotional burnout. When you stop measuring your worth by how quickly or how often he replies, you reclaim your emotional balance. Balance is felt energetically. Even through a screen, people sense when someone is grounded versus anxious. When your energy is calm, his nervous system relaxes around you. Relaxation opens the door to emotional honesty. No one opens up where they feel rushed. People open up where they feel accepted as they are. Space also allows desire to breathe. Desire suffocates under constant checking, constant availability, constant emotional demands. But when you step back just enough, desire stretches toward you naturally. Stretching creates longing. Longing creates thought. Thought creates emotional presence. Throughout the day, moments of quiet will appear. In those moments, your message may resurface, not because it asked for attention, but because it left room for feeling. That is how you stay on someone's mind without trying to be. You are not creating distance. You are creating room for him to move toward you. Movement toward is always more powerful than being pulled in. When you trust the connection enough to allow space, you communicate self-respect. Self-respect invites respect from others, and respect is one of the strongest foundations for lasting attraction. By offering warmth without pressure, interest without insistence, and presence without possession, you create a dynamic where he feels free and drawn at the same time. Freedom and attraction can coexist when confidence leads the way, and when a man associates you with emotional ease, curiosity, and quiet desire, he does not just think about you throughout the day. He looks forward to returning to that feeling again, because it feels like peace rather than pressure, and connection rather than control. When you communicate from a place of emotional certainty rather than emotional hunger, everything about the connection changes. A powerful message is not powerful because it is clever or poetic. It is powerful because it reflects a woman who knows her worth without needing it mirrored back instantly. That inner certainty is felt before it is understood, and it creates a gravity that pulls someone closer without force. Many people believe emotional closeness is built by revealing everything, explaining everything, and being constantly available. In reality, closeness grows when someone feels safe to approach you without fear of being overwhelmed. Emotional safety is created when your words do not carry expectation, judgment, or urgency. When your message feels like a gift rather than a demand, it becomes something he wants to return to. A man opens emotionally when he senses that being himself around you does not come with consequences. If he replies late, if he is quiet, if his day is heavy, he does not feel punished by your disappointment. Instead, he feels met with understanding. Understanding disarms defenses. Defenses are what keep hearts closed. Your message can signal that you are emotionally present without being emotionally dependent. Present says, I enjoy you. Dependent says, I need you to feel okay. One invites connection, the other creates pressure. Pressure makes people retreat even when they care. When you show that you have a full life, a grounded emotional state, and a calm inner world, you invite curiosity. Curiosity is far more powerful than reassurance. Reassurance ends the conversation. Curiosity keeps it alive. He begins to wonder what you are doing, what you are thinking, how you see the world. Wonder creates engagement, and engagement deepens attachment. Emotional maturity is deeply attractive because it feels rare. Many connections fail not because of lack of chemistry, but because of emotional chaos. When you become a source of emotional clarity rather than confusion, your presence stands out. You are no longer competing for attention. You are offering something different, something peaceful. Silence does not always mean absence of feeling. Often it means feeling without words. When you allow silence without reacting to it, you give him permission to process his emotions in his own way. That permission builds trust. Trust is the foundation upon which vulnerability grows. Vulnerability cannot be forced. It emerges where patience exists. When your communication shows patience, you show emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence tells him that opening up to you will not be used against him. It tells him that his feelings are safe in your hands. There is strength in not chasing clarity. When you stop asking where you stand every time uncertainty appears, you show resilience. Resilience is magnetic. It signals that you are not fragile, that you can handle ambiguity, and that you trust yourself regardless of the outcome. A grounded message says, I am here, but I am not waiting. That energy shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, he is not the prize. The connection itself becomes the focus. When two people meet from that place, attraction becomes mutual rather than imbalanced. When you allow him to miss you, you allow him to feel you. Missing is not loss. Missing is emotional awareness. Awareness is what brings people closer. If someone never has space to miss you, they never fully register your absence, and therefore never fully value your presence. Your calmness teaches him how to treat you. When you do not react impulsively, when you do not over-explain, when you do not chase reassurance, you set an emotional standard. People rise or fall to the standards you quietly maintain. Emotional depth is not created through intensity alone. It is created through consistency of character. When your words align with your energy, and your energy aligns with self-respect, you become emotionally trustworthy. Trustworthiness invites openness. When he feels that opening up to you will not lead to pressure, conflict, or expectation, he begins to soften. Softening is the doorway to emotional honesty. Emotional honesty is where real connection lives. You do not need to prove your value through effort. Effort without self-respect becomes self-abandonment. Self-respect, quietly lived, becomes irresistible. It tells him that being close to you requires presence, not performance. As you speak from calm confidence, you create a space where he feels seen without being scrutinized, seen without being judged, wanted without being needed. That balance is rare, and rare things are valued deeply. And when someone associates you with emotional ease, inner strength, and peaceful connection, their heart naturally leans toward you. Not because you asked it to, but because it feels safe enough to do so. When you stop trying to control how someone feels about you, you finally give them the space to feel something real. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because when we care, our instinct is to hold tighter, explain more, and do extra to secure the connection. But real emotional depth is never built through control. It is built through freedom. Freedom is what allows feelings to breathe, grow, and become undeniable. Many people unknowingly suffocate connection by monitoring it. They track response times, tone changes, emojis used, and silence gaps, then react emotionally to every perceived shift. This creates an invisible pressure that the other person feels, even if they cannot explain it. Pressure makes love feel like a responsibility instead of a desire. Desire disappears the moment it feels managed. When you release the need to manage outcomes, You send a powerful message without saying a word. You communicate that you trust yourself enough to be okay no matter what happens. That self-trust is deeply attractive because it signals emotional strength. Emotional strength makes people feel safe, and safety is what allows hearts to open. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means you are connected without being consumed. You care, but you do not collapse if things are uncertain. You enjoy the connection, but you do not lose yourself inside it. That balance changes the dynamic instantly. Instead of chasing clarity, you become clarity. When you are detached in a healthy way, your energy shifts from anxious to grounded. Grounded energy invites pursuit. Anxious energy invites reassurance. Reassurance is temporary, but pursuit is intentional. When someone chooses you without being pushed, that choice carries weight. People fall deeper when they feel they are choosing freely. When they feel no emotional obligation, no guilt, no pressure to perform or reassure, their feelings become honest. Honest feelings last longer than forced consistency. Forced consistency looks like attention without depth. Honest feelings create emotional investment. Letting go of control also means letting go of timelines. Love does not unfold on schedules. It unfolds in moments of realization. When you stop asking, where is this going, and start asking, how do I feel in my own life right now, you shift focus back to where it belongs. You become present rather than predictive. Presence is magnetic. When you are present, you respond instead of react. You listen instead of assume. You observe patterns instead of panicking over moments. That emotional maturity stands out, especially in a world where most people are driven by fear of loss rather than confidence in self. A person feels drawn to someone who does not make them responsible for their emotional stability. If someone feels they must constantly reassure you to keep you okay, they will eventually feel tired, even if they care. When they feel that you are emotionally self-sufficient, they relax. Relaxation allows affection to grow. Detachment also teaches discernment. You stop trying to make things work at all costs. You begin to notice how someone shows up, not how much potential you imagine. You stop romanticizing effort and start valuing consistency. This protects your heart without closing it. When you are detached, you do not need to prove your worth. You know it. You do not audition for attention. You allow attention to meet you where you stand. This changes the power dynamic, not because you are manipulating, but because you are rooted. Rooted people are hard to forget. They leave an emotional imprint because they do not bend themselves to fit expectations. They remain themselves, calm, steady, and authentic. Authenticity creates resonance. Resonance creates connection. If someone pulls away, you do not chase, you pause. That pause is powerful. It creates space for reflection. Reflection is where realization happens. Many people only understand what they feel when they are given room to feel it fully. When you stay centered during uncertainty, you model emotional leadership. Emotional leadership does not demand answers. It invites truth. Truth arrives when it feels safe, not when it is pressured. Detachment also means accepting that not every connection is meant to last, and that this does not diminish your value. When you release the fear of loss, you release the behaviors that create loss. Ironically, this is when people often step closer. Because what they feel with you is not anxiety, not confusion, not pressure, but peace. Peace feels rare. Peace feels grounding. Peace feels like home. And when someone associates you with emotional peace, they naturally want to return to you. Not because they were pulled, but because they chose to come back. When you truly understand your worth, everything about how people treat you begins to change, not because you demand more, but because you no longer accept less. This keynote is about the quiet power of self-respect, the kind that does not shout, threaten, or beg. It simply exists, steady and unmovable. And that kind of energy reshapes every dynamic in your life. Most people think value is something you earn by doing more, loving harder, sacrificing deeper. But real value is something you recognize within yourself. When you do not recognize it, you negotiate against yourself. You tolerate confusion, inconsistency, and emotional crumbs because you are afraid that asking for more will cost you the connection. But when you know your worth, you realize that losing what disrespects you is not a loss at all. People respond to how you treat yourself. If you overlook your own boundaries, others will too. If you excuse behavior that hurts you, others learn that your pain is negotiable. This is not because they are cruel, but because you taught them what is acceptable. The moment you stop teaching people to mistreat you, everything shifts. Self-worth is not arrogance. It is clarity. It is knowing what you bring emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and no longer needing external validation to confirm it. When you reach this place, you stop explaining your standards. You stop justifying your feelings. You stop waiting for permission to feel respected. There is a powerful calm that comes from knowing you will walk away from anything that costs you your peace. That calm is deeply attractive. It tells the other person that your presence is a choice, not a dependency. And when someone knows you are choosing them, not clinging to them, they feel honored, not burdened. Boundaries are the language of self-respect. They are not walls, they are guidelines. They show people how to love you properly. When you set boundaries without anger, without drama, without ultimatums, you communicate emotional maturity. Emotional maturity creates trust. Trust creates depth. Many people fear boundaries because they think it will push others away. In reality, boundaries only push away those who benefit from your lack of them. The ones who are meant to stay will rise to meet you. They will respect you more, not less. When you stop chasing effort, you attract intention. When you stop proving your worth, you become undeniable. This is because your energy changes from seeking to selecting. You are no longer asking, "Do you want me?" You are asking, "Does this align with what I deserve?" This keynote is about choosing yourself even when it is uncomfortable. Especially when it is uncomfortable. It is about not abandoning yourself to keep someone else comfortable. Because the moment you abandon yourself, the connection is already compromised. Self-respect teaches others how to show up for you. It teaches them that your time matters, your feelings matter, and your presence is valuable. And if they cannot meet that standard, you do not argue. You simply step back. There is strength in silence when it comes from self-worth. Not the silence of punishment, but the silence of knowing you do not need to explain your value to someone who refuses to see it. Silence, in that case, is protection. When you honor yourself, you stop fearing abandonment, because you know you will never abandon yourself. And that inner security makes you emotionally grounded. Grounded people are not easily shaken. They do not react from fear. They respond from truth. This keynote reminds you that love is not about being chosen at any cost. It is about being chosen without sacrificing yourself. The right connection will not ask you to shrink, wait endlessly, or question your worth. It will feel steady, mutual, and respectful. And when you carry yourself with this level of self-respect, you no longer need to chase love. Love recognizes you. Love meets you. Love rises to your level. Because when you know your worth, you stop trying to convince anyone of it. And